All right, so this is going to be kind of a different review. Kaylee is here, but she did not watch the movie. But she's here for a reason, and we'll save that for the end. So I'll make this pretty quick so that we can get to
The
what she
end.
has to say. She did see minutes here and there of this film, but for the most part, she's here for the very, very ending of the film. It has nothing to do with the actual film itself. You'll see. Stay tuned. So, Into the Deep is a film starring Scout Taylor Compton as well as Richard Dreyfuss. And unlike something like Piranha, that brought Richard Dreyfuss in for a kind of brief cameo of like, hey, remember how he was in this killer, animal in the water movie? He's in ours too. Like with this one, he actually is quite a big character. I mean, he's not a main character or anything, but he has a pretty significant role, and it's a very important role to the film. Anyway, we have our characters. They're going out. They're going to look for this thing in the water. And then they get boarded by these criminals who are looking for drugs that have been dropped into the ocean. This is a pretty common thing, actually, where smugglers will drop their loads into the water. They'll put little beacons on them, they'll put little flags on them or whatever, and then people come out into the water and to get them and take them back because the planes can't land, and so they kind of swoop around and the boats come out. It's a whole thing. I saw it in different shows that I've watched. So yeah, they come in, and Scout Taylor Compton's character is this character who had a tragedy happen to her when she's a kid. She's a bit afraid of the water, but she is an ocean nut, and she's kind of trying to push through her fears, get back in the water. But this water is infested with sharks, and she talks them into letting her go down to get the drugs, and she has to do it in shark infested waters, and everybody's being held hostage. So it is a bit of a different shark film. Now it has a really low IMDb rating. I think it's like a 3.5 or something. Now I always try to like scale and rate shark movies against the entire subgenre, and the subgenre of shark films is like bottom of the barrel. And then the tippy top, of course, is like Jaws, which is like one of the great films ever made. So it is this like vast array like of different kinds of movies, and honestly most of them fall much below the top, right? Much like the ocean, there is an endless bottom to
Yeah.
the subgenre. So if I'm going to rate this against like the bottom of the barrel shark films, this one's okay. This one's okay when we're talking about shark films. As a film, it's not good. Like it's pretty bad. But as a shark film, because I've seen so many dumb ass shark movies, and I haven't even scratched the surface of how many dumb shark movies there are. I see endless titles that I'm just like, no, absolutely not. But I've seen a lot. I have seen quite a bit. And I'd say this is just kind of like a very mid-range film on the lower end of that side. Scout, I really like her in like, the Halloween movies and whatever, but she just really hasn't had a good, successful film in a while. She made a movie called like Ghost, something with ghost in the title. She's like in a bathtub on the ghost, not story or house or I can't remember. That one was okay. That was one of the better ones, but man, she did shit like Bury the Bride, which we watched a couple of years ago.
Hated that
She
one.
was in Natty Knox with Daniel Harris because they have like a podcast together because they're both from Halloween and whatever. She just makes shit. She just makes shit, as well as so many other I was once in a really classic horror movie actors of today.
Yeah.
Whether it's the, Tony Todd is now dead, of course, but the Michael Berrymans and the Robert Englunds and anybody who used to be in popular horror films just makes paycheck film after paycheck film, and it's all shit. This one, it's okay-ish. As I said, you got this villain who's okay. You've got this whole story between her and her grandfather, and they had this very loving relationship, and he's constantly like, we're kind of going back in time to have some moments where he was hanging out with her as a kid after the tragedy and he's really like guiding her through this experience with his words of wisdom, and he's trying to call her on the phone, and he's just the lovable grandpa at home that constantly has these affirmations for her to like reflect on in the moments where she's, you know, in strife or peril. That stuff's sweet, and I think it does decent for the film. And then all of like the shark stuff, yeah, you got some bad CG here and there, but some okay underwater photography and whatnot with the sharks at times. There's a couple shots of sharks that I'm like, actually looks pretty good, and then other things where you're like, oh, I don't look good at all. So it's a kind of a mixed bag in that regard. The characters are pretty flat. There's nothing really to report there. You have okay-ish relationships between people, but the dialogue is very stilted and forced and amateur, and it's, you know, it's just kind of a classic shark film. But there's not a huge focus on the sharks, right? And once again, this is really the humans are the villains, and I really feel like people are starting to kind of see shark films for what they are. This will be a segue. For what they are, which is to kind of vilify the shark. And I think because of films like that I've watched recently with Dangerous Animals and this one and others, I do feel like there is a trend in the shark film, you know, community now of filmmakers that are making these to try to really shine a spotlight on the sharks aren't the villain, right? Yeah. Like, they're just there, and you know, the people are put into these predicaments, and it's the humans up top that are really the villains, and the sharks are kind of just doing their thing.
Yeah.
And they're kind of a victim of circumstance of like, hey man, I'm just here to eat. Like,
right.
I don't know your bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not aggressively coming after you, right?
Yeah.
So to kick it over to Kaylee, so the point of this is that this has a really beautiful message at the end, which I thought was fantastic, and I'm going to definitely let you take it from here, but actually made me tear up because I think it is wonderfully important. It's said by Richard Dreyfuss, and he literally like came. I don't know. I'm assuming he probably like wanted this, or do you think the filmmakers came to him and were like, "Would you like to do this?" Because he's in Jaws, and
right. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, it kind of doesn't matter too much to me whether...
In your research, you said Steven Spielberg and Peter Benchley.
Well, no, I don't know about Steven Spielberg.
Oh, okay.
But Peter Benchley... Okay, so basically at the end of this, there's this message about...
The entire credits are this
The
message.
Entire credits are just
like
talking about
minutes.
Shark conservation, essentially. And recently I started learning about sharks, and I watched a really awesome documentary. It's on Disney Plus, called Playing with Sharks, about Valerie Taylor, who is kind of one of the first like pioneering like shark conservationists out there. It's a really cool documentary that you should check out. But in that documentary, I found out that the author of Jaws, Peter Benchley, like deeply regrets having created Jaws because kind of as a direct consequence to the Jaws movie, shark populations have been like... And not only that has caused it, but there has been a really big correlation to shark populations going down, and there's only like 10% of sharks like remaining on the planet.
I had heard that when Jaws was released, there was a huge surge in shark hunting because people were like terrified of them all of a sudden. Just started just annihilating them.
Yes, exactly. It really struck a chord. I mean, and this is why it's such a
effective filmmaking,
a popular movie and so influential. But it really struck a chord with people, and so Valerie Taylor and her husband, they were contacted by Peter Benchley, who like initially sent them the book and was like, hey, do you think like would this make a good movie? And they said yeah, it would. And then they worked with Steven Spielberg on making the movie, and afterwards, seeing like the effect that it was having, they literally like toured across like America and all these places trying to really spread awareness about sharks, because the reality is that sharks are nowhere close to what any of these shark movies portray them to be.
No. They
are not man-eaters. They're not out to get people. Are there, shark attacks that happen? Yes, of course, but so much less. 100 million sharks are killed every year, and by humans.
Yeah.
Every year.
That number just seems
where
so
it's
unreal.
so unreal, but there's so many different kinds of shark species too. You know,
it's
like
not
15
just times the Holocaust.
It's insane. Every year 100 million sharks. And you know, I don't know the number of like human deaths by sharks, but it's like, I want to say it's something like 10 or
it's
something.
Like 6
it's
or
so
something.
small.
It's
like
super,
you
super
are
small,
definitely,
less.
yeah, you're more likely to be attacked by a dog than you are a shark.
Oh.
So it's just,
and every time that people are attacked by sharks, it's by accident.
it's a mistake, because sharks don't eat humans. Like, they usually think that they're a seal. They mistake them in the water for something else. Like, it's not ever a like, oh, that's my food, like I'm gonna go eat the human now. It just isn't the case. But you know, sharks, and this is something that really is always struck a chord with me. I always feel really like saddened by this, but there's so many animals on the planet that people have just deemed as like creepy and scary, you know, whether it's snakes or spiders or sharks, you know, because they have these big teeth and they don't look conventionally like cute and adorable like all these other animals that we can, you know, personify. And we put these labels on them, and then a lot of people are like, well, because they're scary, they deserve to die.
Yeah, they're
and
vilified.
yeah, the same thing even goes for creatures like cockroaches and stuff. Like, nobody really likes cockroaches, but they serve a purpose. Like, they're not, you know, they shouldn't just be killed just because they're
As do
gross.
sharks.
And sharks are so important to the ocean. They are like insanely important. So yeah.
if I can find this like PSA that Richard Dreyfuss does in this film, I hope that they uploaded it onto like YouTube for people to watch disconnected from the film, because I do think it is important to get it out there and to spread the information, because I think when you are faced with it, when you're shown that, I know a lot of people want to just like live in fantasy land and never be upset by reality and be like, oh, you know, we're not really having that big of effect on the planet and the animals that live on it.
We are having a massive
I don't
effect.
even know how anyone can say that with a straight face. I mean, the amount of deforestation and animals that we
so
kill,
many animals
and
that have been,
how many that we've
gone into extinction. Yes,
because of us is fucking insane.
I really think that every shark movie should have, I don't know about this message, like the same exact one, but definitely something like this at the end, because, you know, it's clear that people's, like, you know, the public opinion of sharks has to change, and like fast.
I mean, he basically does say a good amount of this speech in Dangerous Animals.
Oh, sure.
The main
that was
villain
one of the
does.
things that we kind of liked about Dangerous Animals.
I love that about it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go check out Dangerous Animals. But
Oh my
I don't
God.
think that there's anything wrong with, like,
It's a million
you know,
times better than this.
I've never been a fan of killer animal movies. Like, it's not my thing. I don't think that people should stop making shark movies necessarily, but at the same time, I do think it needs to be kind of like evaluated, like, well, is it doing more harm than good? Like, if we're kind of perpetuating this stereotype of sharks, which is giving people, you know, this like idea that they can go hunt them or whatever. And they're, you know, you're not supposed to hunt sharks, I think, in certain waters, but it's like, people still do it. Like, you can still catch and release them, but even that can cause damage, obviously. And then we won't even, you know, be able to get into the idea of the shark fin soup and how awful, like, so monstrous that is. But
Question for anyone who lives in Asia, in any Asian country, is there protests or, you know, like people rallying against the practice of finning sharks for shark fin soup over there? I don't know, I haven't looked into it, but with the amount of disgusting behavior on display with literally cutting the fins off of sharks and throwing them back in the water to just drown, just to have like a soup, is fucking insane. And I can't imagine that there's gotta be like, you know, like a PETA or something out
Yeah.
there that's like, you know, in Asia, that's around restaurants like that would serve that kind of shit. I can't imagine. There's got to be people who are outside of those
I
restaurants.
mean, they
and
sell
being
shark
like,
fin soup.
"Fuck
I mean,
that."
you can go kind of anywhere really and get that. I think as far as like they sell it like packets at Asian markets and stuff. So it's like it's mass
I'll never
produced.
understand the
But it's also not-
practice of how they get it
Yeah.
and how people are okay with that.
Yeah.
It's so cruel and so barbaric. I mean, I'm not trying to say don't eat meat or anything like that. I'm just trying to say look into how it's gotten, and it'll piss you off. And I hope if you have a soul.
I mean, unfortunately, that can apply to a lot of meat as well.
I get that.
But yes, I agree.
This seems exceptionally
yeah.
cruel.
Well, because like sharks are so cool and they have been around for so long. It's something like 400 million years or something.
It would literally be like me coming into your room at night, cutting your arms and your legs off, and throwing you in the pool.
It's crazy. And they've survived 5 extinctions.
Yeah.
5 mass extinction like events.
Watch the Richard Dreyfuss thing. I'm going to try to find it online and share it there so you can get the information. We're not here to, beat you over the head with it. I just think that it's a very important message for Kaylee and myself as well. And I know she's the ocean nut right now, and I figured she'd want to speak on the matter, but we don't want to hit you over the head with
yes,
it.
we do. It's our channel. Our opinions.
Yeah.
No, it's all right.
I'm going to feed you to a shark if you don't listen to us.
Check out Playing with Sharks on Disney Plus too, if you're interested in that documentary. It was really informative, and I love stuff like that. So.
And Dangerous Animals. In theaters
for the horror aspect.
Yeah. So, other than that, be nice to the planet.
Yes, and sharks especially. Bye.